Well, first I just wanted to thank you guys for coming. My name is Tammy Marinuzzi. Some of you know me as Pearl and Ari's mom, but in addition to being a mother, I am also an artist. I show my work internationally and nationally at galleries all over the world. And I really like art because it really allows for you to travel and see lots of different parts of the world. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my project in just a minute, but so in addition to being an artist and a mother, I'm also a professor here at Gulf Coast. So my husband Pablo and I, we run the art department here, and we teach everything from ceramics, sculpture, photography, design, and things of that nature. And we have a pretty big program, and our students they go on and they do lots of different things in the worlds of art. So some of them are now underwater archaeologists. So what does an archaeologist do? Does anybody know? What does it do?
They study ancient
Artifacts, right? So one of the things that you can do as an artist is be an archaeologist, right? Because you have to know like what the material is, right? If you're going to go on, let's say, a dig and find like an ancient pot, you have to know what the ceramic was made out of, and then you also need to know how to put that piece. A lot of times when the archaeologists find things underwater, they have to put it back together or find other parts, so they have to know what the material is so that they can put it back together. So a lot of our students go on and they do really wonderful things. They go on 4-year schools, master programs, PhD programs. So in addition to teaching here at Gulf Coast, I also have taught around the world. So one of the places that I go every year is Greece, and I teach on an island called Skopelos. And I teach ceramics and photography there. And I do that pretty much every June for the past 13 years. Okay? And I started going to Athens because I am a ceramic artist, and I love ceramics. So where's one of the birthing places of ceramics? It would be Greece. Okay? So I started going there and studying ceramics, and then I loved it so much that I wanted to bring students. Another place that I taught was in India, and that's where my project has come from, was India. So 12 years ago, I went and taught at a place called Golden Bridge Pottery, which is in Pondicherry, which is here. This is the continent of India, and Pondicherry is right down here. And I went to go teach a class underneath these two people. Oh, I didn't turn off the lights, so I don't know if you guys can see. This is Debbie Smith, and this is her husband, Ray Meager, and they opened up a pottery in Pondicherry in 1973. And that is a production pottery. They make pottery for all different places around India. And Ray, the reason why I went there was because this fella was doing a retrospective show. That means that he was doing this big, huge show in Bangalore, and he wasn't going to be able to teach his classes. And people come from all over the world to take classes with this gentleman. So my job when I went to India was going to be Ray for a couple months and teach his students. So when I was there, I was working at the pottery, but I was able to go and travel all over India. And one of the places I went to this village in southern India, and it was a traditional pottery village. And I got to meet this fella here. His name is Parasamy, and this is Parasamy's daughter. And I got to meet all the village kids. But the reason why I went there was because Parasamy and his family are known for building these large scale, you can see that this is like maybe 15, 20 feet terracotta horses. Now these terracotta horses are brought all over the world into shrines all around the world. And then his family are known for making these. They're one of the only families in the world that make these large-scale horses. So I wanted to go see this, and I wanted to go see this process and how he made this work, and I wanted to see how he fired it. So I don't know if you guys can see from back here, but there's a couple little pots in here. Can you guys see that? Mm-hmm. So what Parasamy does with his family is he builds these big horses out of clay. He builds them in sections. Okay, so first he'll build this section, then he'll build this section, and then he'll build the top section. And then what they do is they build this whole kiln right around the horse, right in place. And then they just load it with sticks and they set it on fire, okay? And so it's not like a big oven, it's not something that's mass produced, it's just mud bricks that they dig all the mud to make these bricks, and then they just go and collect a bunch of wood, and they basically have a big bonfire around this horse, and that's what makes it hard, right? That's what makes it ceramics, okay? So I went to go visit him and his family, and I got to watch this process and see them making the horses. So this is some of the guys making the horses. They use a lot of straw to make them. And then they use clay, and I showed you just how they fired them. Well, the horses are made. One of the things that I was really fascinated by was that in different parts of India, there's all different, they pray to different deities or different gods. And in this particular part of India, they pray to the Aryan god, and he's just known for being the protector of the village in this region. So the horse is really important because he carries the god around, okay? And so the god actually prevents from thievery and robbery, and he really is like the watcher of the village. And only in this particular region is that god worshipped. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool, you know, that they have a god just to watch over him for this particular reason. So I was really enamored by these horses and by the process and by the purpose. So they have this area, so these are new horses, but then they have something called a graveyard. And in the graveyard, there's like 500 of these horses that are just laying around everywhere. And people bring their old temple horses to this location and let them live the rest of their life. So if somebody decides that they don't want one of their Aryan horses for their temple anymore, they'll bring them to this graveyard. So I was really kind of touched by this as an artist. One of the things that really hit me was that this community of potters was really poor. Does anybody know what the caste system is in India?
We didn't study world history yet.
Okay, so the caste system in India is, I'm not going to get into it in a lot of detail, but there's different levels that you fit into in society. And the potter is one of the lowest levels. And in this society, and even though it's not supposed to happen anymore, and people aren't supposed to follow the caste system, they definitely do. And so if you're a potter, okay, which is what I would be if I was in India, right? You're the lowest caste. That means you're one of the poorest people in the community, and you can't marry out of that system, okay? So as a potter, if you're born into a pottery family, you're going to be poor, okay? So when I went to this village, they were really, really poor. We're talking mud huts, no electricity, no running water. The women in the town had to go and fetch water every day along with the kids. A lot of the kids didn't get to go to school, and this really touched me, right? Because if I was born into this caste, my life would be, you know, collecting water daily, right? Because unlike us here in America, they don't have running water, right? So the kids in the community would have to go out and they would have to fetch water. So imagine, guys, before you went to school, and if you were lucky enough to go to school, that you would have to go, you know, maybe 2 hours away from your house, walk, and go and carry a container like this, okay, of water. And you'd have to go and fetch water, bring it back to your house, boil it, sanitize it, and then you could go to school, okay? Or maybe you'd spend your whole day gathering water, and you wouldn't have the opportunity to go to school, okay? So that's how this kind of connects. You guys are talking about water in your class, right? And you're talking about water here, right? And things like that. So before I get a little bit farther with that, I just wanted to show you that some of the temple embellishments weren't always made out of ceramic or weren't always made out of concrete. Some of them are real life animals or deities. The other thing I want to mention is why this is so important to me is now in a lot of these pottery communities, what's happening is plastic is now taking over in India. So when you see women walking down the streets with water, they're no longer walking down the streets with big containers like this. They're walking down the street with plastic. So what does that do for a community, right? If plastic is taken over, if you have a whole caste of people, thousands and, well, millions of people that were born into a caste and their only purpose is to make ceramics for temples or to make ceramics for water or for wear, and then that gets replaced by plastic, where does that leave those people?
No.
That leaves them without a job, right? So this is kind of what's happening in India in a lot of these pottery communities, all right? They're not able to make money, right? And they're already a poor caste. So things are changing for them, right? They're having to find other means of making money. And one of the things that they're doing is they're making things out of concrete, which concrete isn't something that you can dig out of the earth. With ceramics, you can just go, if you have a dirt mound in your yard, you can go and you can process it and you can make clay out of it. Whereas concrete, you actually have to go and buy the materials from a store, and not all these people have access to that. So when I was there, I was kind of finding out all these things and doing a lot of reading and doing a lot of research. And this kind of upset me when I went home and started to put these things into place, because I recognized that I was a lot luckier than a lot of this community. So how does this relate to water? Well, like I said, these individuals don't have access to clean water. So women and children are the majority of, fetch the majority of the household water in rural areas in India, and this also often keeps them from attending school, so that's their job. Their job is to spend anywhere from like 2 to 6 hours daily gathering water so that they can live, right? The average distance that they walk in rural parts of India is 6 kilometers, which would be 3.7 miles, okay? And because the women carry these heavy loads of water, sometimes it causes damage to their neck or it causes strain on their bodies, okay? And the women actually make most of the household water and sanitation decisions, but they are really invited to talk about the planning of water in their households, where bathrooms will be and things like that. So these are just some of the ways that this project relates back to water. So what is my project? So I just wanted to, let me go back one. So every day, women and girls in developing countries walk an average of about 4 miles, many much further, to collect food, firewood, and other basic needs for their family to survival. And what you need to know is that in India particularly, the water isn't really clean. So not only do they have to go fetch it, but then they have to sanitize it when they get it home. So this does require them to do this daily, and this is what they do most of the day. So, as an artist, Pavel talked to you a little bit about, different things that you can do, or a different voice that you can have as an artist, right? Part of an artist's job is to communicate, or to educate people, or to advocate for people. So I told you a little bit that I was an artist. So one of the things that I had to do when I got home from teaching, I was thinking about all this information and all the things that I learned. I wondered what I could do, right? Because I recognize, being an artist, that I have a voice and that I travel globally and I meet and talk to a lot of people. So what I decided to do was start something called Pondiwalk. And Pondiwalk is this project that I'm doing where I'm walking the distance from Panama City, Florida to Pondicherry, India. The distance is 9,514 miles. I've walked over 4,000 of it before. Now, obviously, literally, I'm not walking to India. What I do every day is on my phone, I clock my mileage, and then I dock it on Facebook at Pondiwalk or Instagram on Pondiwalk, or I have a Patreon account where I dock my miles. And the whole purpose of this is to really raise awareness about the girls in this pottery class and to talk about water issues globally. So I have 3 stages of this project. One of it is I am walking and documenting. I'm walking and documenting this process. Then the second one is that I'll travel and I make I do interactive projects like we're gonna do today. We're walking the bridge together. And then 3, I'll go back to India because I've been raising money for the girls in India. And I will try to give money back to the community so that the girls can go to school. So this is stage 1. I'm walking, I document, and I practice mindfulness. Every day when I'm on my walks, I try to think about women globally and some of the things that they have to do. And I try to remind myself how lucky I am to be in America and in a country that allows me to have such freedoms. Okay, so I just make these connections every day when I'm walking, and I take a picture every day and I document it on social media. So these are just some of the pictures that I take, and I do it whether I'm here, in the States, wherever I'm at, globally, I'll take pictures. Stage 2 is I travel, I make artwork, and then I make connections. So one of the things that I've done is I've made all these horses. I've made over 200 little horses, and what I do is I paint them with women when I travel globally, and we talk about women issues globally, water issues, just, different life experiences about being women. And so I make, and then I make these connections. So these are just some of the horses that I've made, and no matter where I am, I'm always making these little horses. I tried to make horses that were similar to the horses that I saw in Pondicherry or in South India, but I'm not really replicating those 100%. And then I sell these, and every horse is worth $25, and $25 sends a girl to school every year in India. So I've raised a lot of money to send a lot of girls to school. So it's kind of like what you guys are doing with your walk for water, okay? And then I make some swag. I make stickers and t-shirts and stuff like that, and I sell that. And once again, all that money goes back to different people, to the women in India, okay? And then the next step, the stage 3 of this project, is to return to India, reflect, see how I can help out, give back the money, and then advance the ideas forward. So what I'm going to do with you guys today, and why I asked everybody to bring a water container, and I've done this before, I actually got a grant. I was a recipient of a residency this summer in Montana, and I went into Montana and worked with the Boys and Girls Club there, and I walked with them. We tried to walk 3.7 miles, which is the normal distance for girls to walk, and we tried to carry this jug of water, either collectively, together, that distance. And I met with a group of girls from the Boys and Girls Club, and then I met with community members when I was in Red Lodge. And Red Lodge is a big clay center out in Red Lodge, Montana. And so I got to stay there for 3 weeks, me and my family, and we got to make artwork, and then we got to work with the community. So today what I'm going to ask is that we're going to fill up your water jugs, and we're going to try to walk across the bridge. From here, across the bridge and back, is 3 miles. I wanted everybody to bring water jugs because I wanted you to kind of have that same experience, to see what it was like having to carry water that distance. Because you guys are really lucky. You don't have to do that, right? Do you think you guys would like to do that every day? Do you think you want to have to carry water or go collect water? How would you guys feel about that? Tired, right? You get pretty tired having to do that, right? Do you think you'd want to have to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and do that before you go to school? No, right? So part of this project is that we just walk together and that we practice mindfulness together, and think that while we're doing this, that there's people globally that have to do this every single day, and they don't have a choice, and they don't get to say, hey, I don't like it. It's just understood that that's what they're going to have to do, right? So I'd like to say to you guys that you guys are like the next generation, right? So you guys can have a voice, right? And is there something that you guys feel really passionate about? I know you guys did your speeches last week, right? Yeah? Did everybody give a speech last week? Yes, ma'am?
Past couple days.
Past couple days, right? And did you guys feel really passionate about what you were talking about? Some of you, yeah? Well, you guys all know that you guys have the voice and that you get to run the country next, right? So, or help with that. So having a voice
Every single day.
yeah, and having a voice and feeling really strongly about something is really important. And no matter what you do in your career, you should, know that, and know that your actions affect somebody else, and that you can have a really positive effect on somebody else, right? by just doing little things. By me just walking every day and talking to groups, I get to point out an issue that I feel really strongly about, right? So you all have voices, and you should all feel confident about that, and I'm happy to walk with you today, so thank you for coming. So we're going to collectively try to carry this. Now, traditionally, I'm going to pass this around, but traditionally, if I was going to carry this, and keep in mind, this doesn't have water in it yet, okay? So keep in mind that normally, I would have to carry this like this, right, on my head, filled with water, okay? And I want you to feel the weight of this, and think about, do you think you could carry that? All right, so I'm going to pass it around. Be careful with it because I made it and I don't want to have to make another one. So I just want you to feel the weight of it, right? And so you guys, between carrying your own waters and my water, it's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy. It is. I want you to think about that, and then you guys are going to help me carry this across the bridge and back, okay? So everybody collectively, we're going to try to carry it and see how long you can carry it for. And then you're going to also try to, we're going to fill up our waters here, and you guys are going to carry your waters across the bridge. How does that sound?